Okay, there you go. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. So, what are we going to talk about today? So, I've my entire career, I say it's been in CX, but I've always done customer experience work, especially customer experience analytics work. But I've done it from customer service. I've done it from customer success roles. I've done it from digital roles, from technical roles, from marketing. I kind of have done it almost everywhere you can in an organization, and have really learned that the challenges that businesses face today are very multivariate in their opportunities, because the complex customer journey is getting more and more complex with new technology, new ways to communicate. And so if you don't really have an advanced program to listen to the voice of the customer and understand, it may be hard to make the right decisions. I mean, because if we look at today's experience, I mean, we might try things on the mobile app first because it's in our pocket. It's right, nice and easy to look at. Maybe you go to the website because it's not on the app and you're searching and not finding anything. God forbid they have a chatbot that they haven't trained very good, that they haven't used Alan's services with, and so now you got an agent chat or phone, or maybe you do both at the same time, and you're trying to get your answers and your issue resolved, and you're pounding on the phone, yelling representative to try to get through to the right, person. And ultimately, you do finally get through to an agent, but guess what? Wrong department. So, and then they tell you to go back and check the website, and then you end up being transferred hopefully to another agent that can help you, and maybe after all of this you finally get resolution. That's the journey today, and this journey is taking days, weeks, or like with me and one of my banks, 3 months of that continual recycled journey to get resolution, because they weren't prepared for it. Businesses have gotten good at channel and task, but not in orchestrating the journey collectively. And so it's one of our challenges in customer support, customer success, is to really embrace the experience, because 80% of customers say that the experience they have with the organization is as important as the products or services you sell. And actually, that's up to 88% now. The reality being, it's more and more about the experience, because almost all products have become commoditized. Almost everything can be replicated or reproduced. And so it's so much more about the experience. And talking to Gen Zers, it's even more about the experience, because they don't really want the product as much as they want to be able to post about the product or the service or the situation. And so as we think about where we're going, I like to translate, what's this rocks thing? Why did I come out with a rock and roll song? Well, I don't go for that kind of rocks, but that was definitely one that comes to mind. But it's understanding that the journey that we just described, we like to think we're designing really straightforward, easy journeys, but they're like rivers that have a lot of rocks in them. So they've got rapids, they're bouncing back and forth, because that's what the experience looks like. It ends up being that we are running into these challenges as consumers, and we're creating those challenges to our consumers and our customers. And we last time we talked about customer effort score, and the reason we did is the statistics are there. If something is hard to do, customers used to be 4 times more likely to be disloyal. Now they're 5 times more likely to be disloyal. And that number is from like last year. And so we're doing new research this year, my company. We may see it's now 6 or 7 times. The reality is, again, hard effort creates disloyalty. So we have to understand the journey. Now, unfortunately, if we're trying to find and remove the rocks, we're working within the confines of our business. So while the customer is focused on their entire journey across your business is stuck in the structure they have. Usually a very, very siloed structure where the customer is bouncing back and forth between all these different contact channels, and in many cases, ne'er the two are talking on the customer's behalf. And it takes everyone in a company to create the experiences, because it can be your customer support and your customer success teams, but your digital team who creates digital assets. It's your HR team. Are they hiring people with a digital mindset, or sorry, a customer experience mindset? Finance, are they helping articulate the value? It takes everyone to create great experiences, but unfortunately, where everyone's responsible, no one's really responsible. It is so hard to break those silos down and make sure, because when it takes everyone, the reality is it means there's no one really responsible for bringing it all together. I always say, from my early days in customer service and customer support and customer success later, it's really around our groups that have the greatest opportunity. We're not the only ones for sure, because we've got to bring in those other groups and the digital teams and all those other assets to bear. But we take that opportunity because we're the ones with the hearts and minds involved with our clients. Everything else, for the most part, is just technology. Now, I also like to talk about, where are we? So we're talking about CX maturity, and we're going to really dive into this a little bit later. But ultimately, when we think about it, I like to think of CX analytics maturity on a 5-level scale. And we're going to talk a little bit, have you guys put yourselves in these positions, but let me quickly go over what these 5 levels are of maturity, if you will. Level 1 are companies who maybe they have 1 or a few surveys. That's really the only way they're getting voice of the customer included in the business, sending out surveys, getting comments, getting survey results. There's a lot of companies still in that space, and it's an area that is changing, but it's pretty solid that's a foundation for a lot of organizations. As you get up to the level 2, now you're going beyond a limited to a little bit more opportunity to listen, but it's still very siloed. So maybe you do have a couple of different surveys, or different groups are doing a few little things, but again, they're still working in a very siloed nature. The call center, it might be doing a survey. The digital team or the website team is doing a survey there, but they're not talking to each other in that. And what I'm finding is now more organizations actually are kind of falling into that level 2. Most of them have moved at least up level from 1 to a 2. When you hit to a 3, now you're multimodal. Now you're starting to not just use surveys, you're using other listening opportunities. You're using text analytics against the transcripts of your chats or your calls. You're using journey analytics to track movement a little bit. You are still using surveys, but again, while multimodal, not integrated, not connected. So everybody's doing a lot of the right things, but still very silo focused on their areas, their needs, and their purpose. To move to that next level, to that level 4, now it's about full integration. That's where all of that disparate data comes together and is integrated, probably in a data warehouse, cloud data warehouse, something of that sort, but it's being used for greater purpose. So surveys, results are being connected to the call transcript. So a post-call survey with the call transcript. So now you have so much more to study on that, not just the scores that were given, especially if there were no comments, but you can understand what they talked about, what their emotion or sentiment was. You can start to see the value of that. And for the most part, this is the aspiration for all organizations. And ultimately, this is where we need to be focused on getting to this level, because again, that journey is hard, that journey is difficult, and that journey touches everything. Again, not just the tasks, but focused on the journey, because those are the moments that matter, are those journeys and how you handle them. Now, the Holy Grail is becoming more of a reality now than ever before. It's a proactive interruption using that integrated platform in real time. The opportunity of connecting your tools, your chats, your IVR, your chatbots, any of those tools that can interact with the customer, it's connecting that to this real-time integration so that you understand when something is happening and they're on their way into a bad position, we can interrupt and move them into a better cycle. I mentioned earlier about my bank experience. Again, I talked to them over 3 months, at least 2 to 3 times a week via chat, email, phone calls, any number of channels, trying to get solutions. I was trying everything I could. And never did I even get a survey during that whole experience. So they were probably at a 1. This is a big bank, probably at a 1, but they obviously weren't taking it seriously. At a 5 scale, there's nothing to say they couldn't have realized on my 3rd call and the 2nd week and asked me, seems like you're calling a lot. Are these all about the same issue? Yes. Now let me route you to a group that can actually take this kind of escalated call and make sure you get resolution. What? That would have been amazing, because now at that scale, you could have moved me to an offline channel where I never had to call again if I could track tickets online or chat or email with a specific partner and agent who's going to help me. That's where we're going. And so ultimately, we're going to talk a little bit, but where are you? you have plenty of options as you're looking through these kind of programs, because again, as I mentioned earlier, it takes a lot of different technologies, surveys, text analytics, digital journeys, cross-channel journey data. You got to visualize it. You got to be able to use AI to study it, gamification, personalized coaching, training, or tracking, so much more. And there's a lot of companies that you can either build it or you can buy it. If you build it, I did that at a past organization at Charles Schwab. We built it. It took 5 years, a lot of people, and quite a bit of money. You can go out and buy it with different vendors and have them do the work for you to bring all that research to scale to make your support, your success, and your experience better. And if you buy it, that's great opportunity. There are so many great vendors out there, great vendors that can help you. The downside is there's so many great vendors out there that can help you, or people that can help you. So making sure that you're understanding, because how do you really choose within that? And so I like to talk about it, where I focus in my work is a third solution, more of a bespoke solution. There are a handful of partners out there that are helping develop technology solutions that actually bridge that gap for you. They bring the tools together so they work in unison on your behalf. Pre-built with the top technologies, customized, et cetera. That's an opportunity that we now have in this new day and age. A lot of companies have tried to do it over time, like Medallia and others, but they bought individual solutions and then tried to integrate them. There are now foundational organizations that are actually starting with the journey in mind and building the technology and capabilities from that perspective. Because if we want to be mature, we've got to understand across all these different domains and opportunities of how to do it. Now, I showed you this slide last time, if you happen to be there. For those of you who weren't, this is really just a heat map that looks at all of your different journeys across all of the different metrics that make an impact. And it highlights the areas that are most important. What I like to say is it shows you where the rocks are, which journey, which type of metric, which type of activity that's driving high effort, so that you know where to go find the rocks and remove them, but you know which ones to focus on, which ones to prioritize. This was something that we developed, we built. It's a little older version that we ended with, but now we're even seeing other newer capabilities. And this is what's so exciting. And as we look at it, because there are now ways to track journeys where you can really understand and study them at scale. Where, for instance, as we're looking at this is just an example, if you will. You can look at all of these different journeys, and right off the bat, generative AI is summarizing the top priorities for you across the different journeys. As you start to look and dive, you now are starting to know, where are my priorities? Where are my opportunities to focus on? It's summarizing that for you. But you can also then look at the performance across different journeys and start to see different areas, different hotspots. For instance, in this case, journey 3 struggles much more than the others. Just starts to pinpoint you, direct you in an area, direct your executives in an area to focus. So drilling even deeper to understand what that looks like. And you can look at the different channels associated with that journey and the performance of those channels. 5 of them here, and then drill in even further to understand details about those journeys, like specific cases to look at or surveys to look at or things of that nature. The point is, as Alan talks about at Y Meadows and all the things that are coming, the day and age of being able to start to study the CX, the true experience across the journey, is now here, and it hasn't been this easy before. And it's an opportunity that I'm passionate about, and that's why I get on stages to talk about it, is to really excite people about the art of the possible, the ability to think through what really are the biggest challenges across our businesses these days, break the silos, get the people involved, because it really does come down to aligning the people, your people, across this opportunity, winning hearts and minds, then refining processes, what you measure, how you measure, customer effort score, for instance, last time when we talked about, and then bringing it all together from a platform perspective where you're providing real solutions, ultimately in real time. That's where we're going. Companies that are already starting to embrace this, they're winning in their marketplace. Easily revenue numbers are double digits better than their competitors who are not. And churn is double digits better as well. So as we think through these positive movements, we're looking at these opportunities to drive change, but not just change, drive transformation of the customer journey into an area where we as a customer would want it to be, honestly. but doing that for our own customers and being able to do that at scale across an organization the right way. Now, that was fast. I know I could have, I kind of probably sped up because I wanted to get through it. But, I love this passion, this opportunity. I love talking to companies about it, doing 1, 2, or 3 day workshops on these projects, or really just consulting and advising. So happy to be able to bring me in there, or happy that I was able to come in. I want to close with one quick story. I did have an experience like this recently. I didn't know I had something coming with a vendor or company that I was working with. They sent me an email proactively, said, "Hey, this is coming up. It's going to interrupt service if you don't take care of it now." Oh, great. I clicked on the link because it said, if you want more information. I went to the website, a lot of FAQs. I thought, oh, well, I'm going to have to go in. I really don't want to go in. So I picked up the phone and I called just to make sure that was the case. They answered. The IVR said, "Hello, Mr. Albertson. I see this is going on your account. Is this why you're calling today?" Why, yes, routed me directly to that group. The person there said, "Yeah, I see we're going on. What can I answer for you?" She did confirm that I had to come in person, sent me a link and said, "Reserve your spot here." I clicked it, picked a spot that was good for me, got reminders 2 weeks out, a week out, 3 days out, asking if I wanted to reschedule. I didn't. I was good with the original time. The morning of my appointment, got a text and an email and said, "When you get there, when you get on to our office, click here." Walked across the door, clicked the button, looked up on the board. My name now was number 2 on the list to be served. Then it told me where to go. I went to that desk. The person there said, "I've got your information pulled up." Some of the worst experiences I have, like that bank experience, are with companies that have won awards for customer service. This last experience, this last seamless experience where they removed the rocks from people to process to people to technology. My local DMV. What? Yes. If the DMV has figured it out, here's the reality. You guys, there's no reason you can't figure it out too. And so that's my passion. And I'm glad I was able to share some information with you today. And yeah, and absolutely, let's talk a little bit more about where you are from a maturity standpoint. And my goal after this session, hopefully you all have a walk away with your working with your peers of, how do I get up a level? How do I get to the next level? And that's where we can do it as a community and help each other together.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. I love that. I love that example. That is great. And I never would have guessed the DMV. Never. So that's cool. This is our section. We just have maybe 2 minutes. And we call this fish bait. So I'd love for you all to put some questions that you might have in the chat for Sean. We can address maybe just 2 questions, Sean. Since Valerie he's a veteran, so he already knows what we do here, but he had a couple questions for you, which is, if you go back to the matrix that you showed, the effort score matrix, he was wondering the numbers, how are those calculated? Where do they come from? So if you could answer that, start.
Absolutely. So we went across, I'll use an example. Handle time is one, because we know that things that take long to resolve are harder to do, right? That it makes a lot of sense. There's actually statistical data around it. It's not as predictive, let's say, a first contact resolution, but we look at those metrics. We know the metric at the journey level. So we basically take the post call, post chat, post website survey. We know what they're doing using text analytics, et cetera. So we tie that survey to the journey, as well as the text and the sources there. And then what we do is we are able to summarize where each journey falls. And instead of showing the number, what we showed was the ranking. And the reason we do that is it's never getting to, you don't want to get to the point where like, oh, a score is good enough. No, you always need to be working on the lowest and most challenging issue, because you want to raise all boats and you want to keep pushing that. You never want to just be satisfied, because inevitably something's going to take a new low, because something's going to break and it's all of a sudden going to be a new low. But that's what it is. It really looks across the different metrics you have and ties them to their specific journey, and then ranking their performance so that the hot spots pop up by journey and by metric. So something with high hold time, that journey probably means your agents aren't practiced enough with it. They need more retraining, because they have to put people on hold to ask questions. So that's just an example.
Thank you.
Excellent. And then another question was, what AI would you recommend using for summarizing the data?
So most of what I'm doing is still the good old fashioned traditional predictive analytics, machine learning. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to look at past events to understand future likelihood. And so being able to leverage that. Now, generative is the new thing, but really the generative and conversational AI is more about summarizing the content. When you summarize the content, then using a chat GPT type of thing of that nature, that's very much a capability native to that perspective. But the ultimate AI that we leverage for this from a predictive perspective is traditional machine learning driving to predictive results. So by channel and by journey and by activity, we can predict what the highest drivers of churn are.
Excellent. I think that
Thank you.
summarizes it. So we're going to move on to our questions. So Sean, if actually, I'm going to pull this up for you. Based off of his presentation, we wanted to dive in and give you all an opportunity to have a productive conversation around where you're currently at in the CX analytics maturity scale, and what you can do to get to the next level. So what's that one step that you can take to get to the next level? So what we're actually going to do is we're going to put you into breakout rooms according to where you're at. But I wanted to visualize this very quickly. So you can see here, I've got the sticky notes queued up. You don't need to put anything on the sticky note. Just grab a sticky note, drag it over, and put it on top of whichever one you're currently on. I'm going to then ask you the same question in a poll. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can get you into breakout rooms. But I thought this would be a great way to visualize this. So what I'm going to do is share the link in the chat to this document, and you can watch live. Come into the document as a guest. You don't need to create an account, and grab that one of those sticky notes and let us know where you're at as it relates to how integrated and proactive you are with your analytics. Just curious to get a sampling of this awesome group that's here. Awesome. Y'all are going to work. And you can put it anywhere. You can cover the words if you'd like. Some people might need to be reading those. So maybe not actually cover the words, but you can cover the number. Okay. So Sean, according to what you said, true. A lot of activity on number 2. And a few, I mean, we've got one at 4. So everything you're saying is really holding true here. It looks like some people are in between steps 2 and 3. So maybe in the process of doing that. So that's
and that's fair enough. There is kind of that 2.5 would be a group in transition. Absolutely.
I'm going to make more sticky notes and bring them down here for you guys. There's some more over here on the side if you haven't had a chance yet to vote. Cool. All right, great. Fantastic. So now what we're going to do, folks, is what can you do to get to the next level on the maturity scale? So if you're in the siloed, what are some actions that you can take to become more multimodal? If you're in multimodal, what are some things you can do to get integrated? If you really don't know, you're going to be in a group with other people who are thinking about this. I'd love for you to just ask them. So we're just going to have you do a discussion with everyone else about where you currently are and what is one step that you can take to get to that next level. So be thinking about your answer to that while I'm going to launch this poll, which is essentially asking you the same thing. So whatever number you put yourself at, please choose that, because that's how I'm going to put you into your breakout rooms. But then be writing down what is that next step that you can take to get to the next level. When you come back as a group discussion, I'm going to ask you what your biggest takeaways were and maybe some of the blind spots that you uncovered during the conversation. So go ahead. If you've already answered the poll, great. Write down the steps you can take to get to that next level on the maturity scale. Awesome. We were just waiting for a couple more folks on the poll. Excellent. Okay. All right, I'm going to end that poll. So interestingly enough, we can actually look at it now from a percentage perspective. 56% of you are in siloed, 17 in limited, 25 in multimodal. So we are seeing this movement that Sean, you were talking about, and we've got 3-1 in integrated. So integrated, I'm actually going to put you in with Sean, whoever said integrated. So Sean, I'm going to probably move you around so you can be with that person and have a discussion around that. Everybody else, I'm going to create the breakout rooms accordingly, and we're going to do 5 participants per room. Let me change. We're going to do a 15-minute discussion. And what I'd love for you to do is go, whichever person has the shortest hair, go ahead and go first. Share a little bit about where you are and what you think you can do to get to the next level. Keep in mind, this is an open discussion. I mean, we're here to get access to new ideas. So if you even feel stuck, if you're like, honestly, I have no idea what my next step is, give that person some time and share some perspective to them to help them out. So here we go. I'm going to open up the rooms. Enjoy the conversation, folks. And I'll see you back here in a short 15 minutes.
Yeah, people need to be put into some.
Okay, let's see. Sean, are you? Okay, hang tight, Sean. I need it. Okay, yeah, you're in the right one.
Can I show you my screen real quick? We actually got more. I was waiting for a second here. You stopped recording? Paul,
What?
stop recording.
Okay.